Hi, it's Jessica with Everreal, and I'm back to talk about board games that you can play over Zoom. This is going to be fun! As many of you know, I love to play games. And during this pandemic, I have just found ways to play games over Zoom. And I thought it would be fun to put together a list of my top 10 games that you can play over Zoom. This is assuming that you've got a Zoom account or some kind of a Skype account, and you've got one copy of the board game, and one person at each location. So that there are two games where I'm doing them as honorable mentions because you actually would need to have the physical game and two people in one location. So one of those games is called Monikers. Fantastic game. It is kind of a hybrid of charades. So definitely check that one out as long as you've got two people that are willing to make a fool of themselves on one end of the camera. And the other one is Codenames. Codenames, you have to have two code givers in one location, and you also would need to set up a camera over the top of the game itself so everyone can see the words. All right, so let's get into our top 10 games that you can play over Zoom. Number 10 is a game called Pick Your Poison. And this is a commercialized version of the game that my kids always like to play with me in the car, which is Would You Rather. The nice thing about this is it's got lots of cards, so you don't recycle the same fifth graders' ideas all the time. Tons of cards, like Would You Rather Always Be Sweaty or Permanently Smell Like Cigarettes? Let's see. Would you rather text your mom saying help and then don't speak to your family for a month, or have all of your food chewed by another person before eating it? Now, these are all just a bunch of cards, and the idea is that you put some together. And how I have played this over Zoom is I have kind of pulled together a bunch of cards, and I've put matches together that I think would be funny. We have somebody choose which one, and then to make it a game, we have people guess what the other person is going to guess. And if you guess correctly, you get it right. Now, this is my number 10 because it's not my favorite game to play over Zoom, but it is something different than some of the other things that we have. And so I think that Pick Your Poison is a good option. My number 9 is a game called Imaginiff. Now, this game is similar to the last game we just talked about in that you get to pull out these cards and you say, for instance, maybe we'll say, if Jessica were a truck, which would she be? A dump truck, a Tonka truck, a fire truck, a monster truck, an ice cream truck, or a tow truck? And there's a ton of these. So imagine if Jessica were a type of potato chip. Would she be barbecue, sour cream and onion, salt and vinegar, Pringles, crinkle cut, or original? Tons and tons of cards in here and other components. I don't care about the other components. I just care about these cards. And if you've got kids in your life and you are trying to entertain them over Zoom, this can be really fun, and you can match it kind of with their personality. And I've had a lot of kids really enjoy this. And we kind of make it a game. So you might ask me the question, which kind of potato chip? I decide secretly for myself what kind of potato chip I am, and then everybody else tries to figure out what I think I am. If they get it right, they get a point. Again, it's more about the fun to be had here and the discussions, like, why did you think I was a crinkle cut? And it's hilarious, some of the answers that people come up with for why they choose certain things for certain people. So my number 9 is Imaginiff. Number 8 is a game called Box of Rocks. Now, this is also in some places called Are You Smarter Than a Box of Rocks? Super fun, super easy. And basically what this is it's a trivia game. But the trivia questions are the only answers for this trivia question are either this number 0, number 1, or number 2. Those are the only 3 answers to all of these questions. So it's not like you have to be, because some people get intimidated by trivia games. You don't have to be intimidated here. So one of the questions, how many bones does a caterpillar have? Now, you ask a person that question, they answer it. Then the other thing in this box is rocks. And you can see on these rocks, they're two-sided. This one has nothing on it. This one has nothing on one side and a number 1 on the other. And this one, the same thing. So what happens is you put the box, or you put the rocks in the box, you shake it up, you look inside, and the box answers the question too. So this is 2. Oh, if you can see that. So now, if the person says, how many bones does a caterpillar have? And they say 0, and then you shake the box of rocks, and the box of rocks says 2. You look on the back, and you go, oh, it is 0. So the person gets the points. The box gets 0. But you would be surprised how many times the box gets it right, and the person gets it wrong. This is a great, fun, simple game to play with people, and we have truly enjoyed it. So, are you smarter than a box of rocks? My number 8. My number 7 is a game called Hues and Cues. This is a really fun game that's basically based on color alone. So you have a board, and on this board are lots and lots of colors.
Yeah, so you have this board, then
You get a card, and on this card there are 4 different colors, and you get to choose which one of these colors you want to use. So let's say I decide to use this green color here. A little hard to see. And what I'm trying to do is I want people to guess what color green I'm talking about. And to do that, I'm able to give a clue. So I might say for that, maybe I would say Shrek. And now what happens is everybody else chooses, because you can see that there's a grid on here, right? So 1A would be this color here. So someone can say 16Z. I don't think there's a Z in the game. 16C, and that's where their cone would go. Now, you're asking yourself, well, how do you play this? So this one is a little bit more of a challenge, and how you do it is you do have to set up a camera above this board in order to play it. So it's a little more setup time, and then, but people can still, because they can see the numbers, they can still, you would be the one to place all of their cones on this board. It's a really fun game. It is a little more work. So if this is not something that you're willing to try and work out with putting, you have your face camera and then you have a camera over the top, then maybe this is not the game for you. But who knows, if you are hardcore like me, this could be a fantastic game for you, and it's something a little bit different. So that is my number 7, Hues and Cues. We are now starting to get into my absolute, kind of the cream of the crop as far as I'm concerned when it comes to games to play over Zoom. And the next one, my number 6, is Mr. Lister's Quiz Shootout. So this game is a game of lists. So those of you who like to make lists, this is perfect. Inside of here, you got a bunch of cards with some questions. So this question is, there are big cats on Earth. List them. Now, what happens is there are 2 teams. Each team has, you got about 30 seconds. You write down as many big cats as you can think of. And then it's a quiz shootout, because what happens is Team A gets a chance to say one, and then Team B gets a chance to say one, and then you have to decide in order of priority, which ones do you think are going to be on the list, because there are only 10 on the list. So you go back and forth, and if somebody misses, then you have a chance to catch up, and each team gets to guess three times. Super fun. The other thing I love about this one is it's got this little thing here, so you can put it on your pencil, And I like to use it because if I'm going to moderate, I'm not just going to ask the question. I'm going to go, there are 10 big cats on Earth. List them. Some people don't like it, but oh well. So my number 6 is Mr. Lister's Quiz Shootout. My number 5 is a game that I have talked about in my other video about top 10 games for families. And obviously, these are all good games for families. So if you're looking for something just to play as a family, we do a lot of these games as a family. You know, we just need something for 15, 20 minutes to kind of bring us together at the end of an evening or on a weekend. These are fantastic for that. So the game that I'm talking about is Just One. In this game, everybody gets one of these standees, and this standee is, you can write on it. So everyone gets a dry erase pen and one of these standees. Then one person, and so again, we're doing this over Zoom. So I would say to my sister Erica, Erica, close your eyes. She knows she needs to keep her eyes closed until we're ready for her. And sometimes she can go and get herself a sandwich or whatever. It doesn't take too long. And then I show this on camera. I will say, our word is number 2. And so everybody looks at that word, and then everybody writes down their word. Oh, and let's not forget, only I have these if this is in my house. So everyone just writes on a piece of paper. You don't have to worry about having these actual standees. So everyone's going to write one word down that has to do with a doctor, okay? Then what happens is once everybody's ready, everybody has to be ready, we all show each other on the video the word we have chosen. Then what happens is anybody who has duplicated that word, so maybe doctor, maybe I put medicine down, okay? And let's say that my brother also put medicine down. We are now eliminated. We do not get to give those clues to Erica. So that's what it means by just one. She can only have one clue of each. So that means medicine is now eliminated and we don't get to show that to her. So we figure out who else has duplicates, and then Erica comes back. We say, okay, Erica, come on back. She opens her eyes. She then gets the words that are left over from that. And then she has one guess to guess which word we were talking about. So maybe the only word that she has is hospital and sick. So now she has to try and come up with doctor from that. But there are certainly a lot of things around that. So this is an absolutely fantastic game. Anybody can play it. It's great over Zoom. I've played it many, many times with different groups, and it always goes over really well. It's so much fun when somebody only has a couple of words because people have duplicated and they still get it. It's like, yay! And I love it when games do that. I love it when games make people shout and get excited. And so this one, Just One, is absolutely fantastic, and I highly recommend it. My next game is this game right here called Linky. Now, Linky is kind of a trivia game, but it's a different type of trivia game. My family loves trivia games. I know some people really don't, but even if you don't like trivia games, you might like this one. Here's how the game works. On the card, you're going to find 4 questions. Now, those 4 questions are going to have an answer to each. And each of those answers is going to lead to the final clue. So you can kind of see on here, there's 4 questions, kind of, and then there's a final answer down at the bottom. So here's how it works. Everybody's on their own team. Everybody's going to have a pen and a piece of paper. And then I'm going to ask the question. Complete this famous quote from the Bible. Physician, blank thyself. So in this case, I would write down quietly, privately, heal. Okay, so I'm going to write down the word heal. Next, something that is deliberately difficult to say is known as a blank twister. Okay, so heal was the answer to the first one, and then obviously tongue twister is the answer to this, so you write down tongue. Okay, And everyone's keeping this private. No, we're not giving the answer yet. We're just asking the questions. Number 3, what is the capital of South Korea, which is Seoul. So we have heel, tongue, and Seoul. Now the last one, what delicate web-like fabric can often be found on lingerie? Lace. Okay, so we have 4 clues here. Heel, tongue, Seoul, and lace. So now there's one more clue to give us the final answer. And this one says, an old woman once lived in one of her many lived in one with her many kids. So the final answer to this whole card is shoe. Now, here's the cool thing, is the first person to say Linky during any time during this card gets one chance to actually tell us what the final clue is, even if all they have is clue number 1 or clue number 1 and 2. Sometimes clue number 2 was too hard, and so all you have is 1, 3, and 4. But as soon as you say Linky, you have a chance to say something, and then if you say the wrong thing, you are eliminated from that round. This is such a unique and wonderful trivia game. Just the answers to the main questions are relatively simple, but sometimes figuring out how those words combine and make that final answer can be really tough. And there's also, on top of that, because each of the cards has a letter on the back, there is a way that you can, the winner is the person who spells out the word Linky. I'll let you guys figure that out on your own. I basically keep track of it myself on a pad of paper for each person, the letters that they have. And there's ways to turn in letters and stuff. But honestly, the best thing about this game is the way they've put together a trivia package that is simple and fun and has that race element because you're trying to think of the main clue before other people. Fantastic. Linky. Number 3 on my list of the best games to play over Zoom is this one right here. It's called Herd Mentality. I love this box, first of all, because all of these are like velvet, kind of. Some people probably hate that feeling. Anyway, this is a game where you want to go with the crowd. You want to not have a unique answer. You want to definitely be part of the herd. So some of the questions that you're going to get with this is, what's your favorite season? If you had a time machine, would you visit the past or the future? Name something purple. Would you rather be the richest person or the smartest person? What's the best American invention? Hamburger, iPhone, or basketball? So again, these are people's opinions. I love it. You can play with kids. And the idea is that you want to be a part of the majority. So even if you're playing with 5 people and 2 people say that basketball is the best invention of the United States and 2 people say that it's the hamburger, unfortunately, you're not part of the majority. It would have to be 3 people would have to say it. And it creates great conversation. Why would you visit the past versus the future? And then you get to talk about that. So this is a great game filled with so many creative questions to ask people. I absolutely love it. That is my number 3, which is Herd Mentality. Before I finish with my number 1 and number 2, I want to give a big shout out to a company called Big Potato Games. Several of the games that I have shared with you here are actually from this company. So check them out, Big Potato Games. I'll put a link below here. It's not like I make any money from this or anything, but they have fantastic party games that translate incredibly well to the Zoom space or the online space. So my number 2 is also one of their games, and it's called Colorbrain. Colorbrain, and then I have another version called Disney Colorbrain. And this game is fantastic because the answer to every question in this game is a color. And you'd think, that can't be very fun. It's really fun. So now if you were in person, everyone would get a handful of color cards, and they would put that out and flip it over. Of course, we can't do that because, again, we're doing this over Zoom. So what we do is everybody just writes it down and then shows it to everybody. So some of the questions that you might have in this game, and there's going to be an answer and a number, because sometimes it's more than one color. It might be 2 or 3 colors that you have to show everybody. So this question is America's oldest and most famous military medal. The Purple Heart. So you would put out a purple. And these are double-sided, so lots of questions. Fight Club soap. Pink, right? Now, but if you're playing with kids, this is why I want to show you this Disney version of it, because when you're playing with kids, they're not going to know what Fight Club soap is, nor should they know what color Fight Club's soap is. So this is a fantastic game to play because it actually quite evens out the playing field. My son Benson has won this more times than Matt or I have won. And some of them are tough. So some of them might be easy. For instance, it will say Scar's mane. So what color is Scar's mane? Actually, that's a little bit harder than you might think. It's black. But they also have things where you might have to have 4, and it'll say it's going to be 4 colors. So this one is the Queen of Hearts dress. So there are 4 colors involved in that, so you have to have them all right. This game, I can so highly recommend. Obviously, it's number 2 on my list. I think it's great. I think it's great that there are 2 versions of it. So depending on who I am playing with, if they want to be a little bit more serious about it, we can play this version. Or if I'm playing with kids, you can play with this. I have fun playing. Listen, I don't like playing boring games with kids. I like playing games that are challenging for me and fun for them at the same time. This is one of those games. Highly recommended. Colorbrain. So my last game is probably the game that I have played the most with the most people over several years. And it is the ugliest box. As you can see, I kind of set these all up over here and they're so pretty and colorful. The next game is called Sixes, and it's kind of a boring looking box and it's very small. There's not much to it, but I think that this game is one of the best ones out there. It's extremely simple. And what you do is you have 6 different rounds. And in those rounds, you are trying to come up with words based on these. So for instance, witches. So that's the only word you have is witches. And now, depending on the round that you're in, you're going to write down 6 witches. Okay, the game is called Sixes, right? So 6 witches, or anything to do with witches. And there's no real direction. You just get the word, and some people go, do I write down witches, or do I write down things about witches? And that's the thing, is that you're trying to, kind of like herd mentality, you're trying to figure out what other people would say. And so you write down those 6 words, and then anytime you match somebody else, so in herd mentality, it has to be a majority. In this game, just match somebody else. Somebody else, if you're matching, you get a point. And that is matching. Then you have the next round is going to be unique. So in other words, you can't match anybody. So kind of like categories. And then the next round is a super fun round where you actually get a bunch of words and you have to have one word for each of these categories. So this would be wine grape varieties, rhymes with most, gold medalist, wildcat breeds, clue, mythological creatures. So in 60 seconds, all of these rounds are 60 seconds long. You have to come up with one word for each of these, and you need to match other people. Now, this might sound like, it's not that fun. Every single time I have played this game, there's laughter and there's those moments of, I cannot believe that you wrote down the same word as me. I thought that is a terrible option, and yet I used it and you said it too. That's crazy. This game has just provided our family with so much fun, so many memories, and then I've introduced it to just about everybody that I know. So if you know me really well and you've come to my house, I've probably tried to get you to play a game And I've probably tried to get you to play this game. So highly recommended. This is 6s. Well, guys, that is my list, my top 10 games to play over Zoom. And honestly, this is really more about providing an opportunity to laugh, to have fun, to even get to know people a little bit. I played with my nieces last night. Let's see what game. We played Herd Mentality last night over Zoom with my sister and my mom and my stepdad and a couple of my nieces. It was so much fun because I got to ask them, now, why would you choose that? And we had wonderful laughs and just time to connect. So don't let this time stop you from connecting with other people. Find ways to do that. And if a game seems like it might be up your alley, here are 10 plus 2 honorable mentions that I think will work great for that. You all have a fantastic day, and I hope you've enjoyed this version of Everreal Recommends 10 games to play over Zoom. Bye.